So today I'm going to share with you the best ways to score more goals in FC24. And straight off the bat, there's a couple of things that this does not include. You do not need Travellas. You do not need to abuse meta. You don't need to abuse R1 dribbling. These are things that you only really need if you're in sort of Div 1 or the Elite Division, or you're trying to go for sort of 15 plus wins maybe in FUT Champs. Then some of that stuff becomes more useful. But for most people that are going to be watching video like this, if you're in Division 10 to Division 2, you don't need any of that stuff. Now there's three things that I'm going to share with you today that are absolutely paramount if you want to score more goals and create more chances. And the first one of those things is being able to read your opposition. Now, reading your opposition is really key, and being able to dissect what's happening very fast in a game is super important. This is a great example. I could already see with that tackle there when he lunged into me that this shows me that he is an aggressive defender. Now, that means he's going to create space for me, so I don't need to do anything special to be able to create an opportunity. I know that he's going to most likely drag out this left back straight into that space. He's going to compress me. He's going to do the wrong thing. That's, as you know from our defending tutorial, you don't want to do that. So he's going to do that, and I know that because of that tackle that he's just tried in. And that's going to give my fullback the opportunity to overlap him and take that space that he's going to vacate, which is exactly what happens. We play it, and as I said, we know this guy is super aggressive. He's running into tackles, he's leaving space, and we're able to just evade his tackles and then get a quick cutback for an easy goal. So now when you come up against someone that is a little bit more passive defensively, this guy tried to come and press us, but then we tried a little trick that we like to do. We like to just do a little bit of left stick dribbling in and around to try and bait the opponent into us. And he actually dropped off and went to cover the fullback, which is actually what you're supposed to do. But by doing that, he left a massive hole between his right back, and his centre back. And we're just waiting for Sane to just get on the shoulder of the centre back, and we're going to drill that through ball straight through. So not doing anything too complicated, just using some very simple techniques to be able to create space. And then Sane is able to use his pace in behind. And this is something that a lot of people would try and do. They would try and then take this shot from a really tight angle, and this has got a very low percentage chance of scoring, and this is something really key. You always want to make sure you're taking high percentage shots and chances, and the best opportunity here is to cut the ball back to Lewandowski and look for that tap-in goal. Now what we had to do, very key, is we had to hit this ball first time when it came back to Lewandowski, because the defender was there and he would have blocked it had we taken that touch. So being able to read really how aggressive your opponent is when they're defending is really the first thing that you have to identify when you're playing a new opponent, because that really dictates how you can play. This guy was sprint jockeying and he was giving us a lot of opportunity. So in this case, just some simple left stick dribbling gave Sane the space to be able to whip that ball in and get an easy goal. Now the second thing that's really important that you need to be able to master, and that is decision making. This is one of the things I see people get wrong a lot when they're trying to get better at attacking. This is a good example. Obviously you can see he's got 6 players up the field, and a lot of people straight away would be looking to bang this ball in behind, but having that, ability to make the right decision at the right moment is key. So of course we're aiming to look to play that ball in behind to Sane, but we need him to get on the shoulder of the defender first. If you play this ball too early, you can see the defender has got a gap to Sane, so he could switch play into that defender and be able to shadow any run that Sane makes. So to give us the edge, we have to wait for Sane to get on the shoulder first and then play the ball in behind. So making the correct decision at the right time is key when you're trying to score more goals. But it's not just when you're going through on goal, it's also when you're in possession in the midfield. Now this is a simple pass that looks very innocuous, but a lot of people would probably try and play that ball in there. Now this actually has quite a low percentage chance of succeeding. You obviously have 2 defenders that are coming to press you. That's going to affect the stats of your player, especially if he doesn't have super high composure. And if the defender in front has good interceptions, the AI may lunge in front and intercept that ball for him. So a much easier and much higher percentage pass is just to the guy that's on top of the ref. That is a much better opportunity and gives us a 100% chance of succeeding, and then we're able to take the attack from there and be able to create the chance and score the goal, having that composure to finish it off. So being able to make the right decision at the right time is key. A lot of people rush in making decisions. They maybe try and rush their attacks too quickly. They don't let the players come up and attack with them, and that forces them to create some really bad opportunities. Even though they get in some good positions, they make the wrong decision and they end up losing the attack. Now, the third and final thing is composure. You've got to be able to be composed in certain moments. And again, it really ties in nicely with the previous section on having good decision making. So a really nice pass out from the keeper to the fullback, who takes a really nice touch and takes the defender out the game. Now again, most people in this situation would probably look to play a first time through ball either to the left or to the striker at the top of the pitch. Most people would just bang a through ball through, but you can see the two defenders have got a couple of yards on the attackers, so there's a good chance, especially if those defenders have pace, that they could intercept the pass. Who knows, maybe the pass isn't quite accurate enough. It might be being played with a weak foot of a player, so it could be off target as well. So being able to exercise composure, and as you can see, we just open up, that's so much space in front of us, so we're just going to run into that space. Rather than try and force a pass somewhere, we're going to run into that space, whip a ball out on the wing, and then we do a few unnecessary things that we really shouldn't do. We play a silly little rainbow flick, but we eventually cut it back to Pateas, who then gets the goal. And again, it's not just about being composed in the box, it's also about being composed in the middle of the pitch. We get the ball with Kimmich here and we just wait for things to settle down, and this is okay. A lot of people don't do these sorts of things. They don't let the play settle down. They just think attack, right, got to get straight back into another attack. And you don't have to do that. You sometimes need to just let things settle down, let your players get back in position. They may have made runs in behind, and now that you're going to have like 5-6 players that might have been, made those runs in behind, especially if you're playing on direct passing, you need to let you guys come back, get into position, get your team back set, and then restart another attack, which is exactly what we do this time with Kimmich. We then end up getting the ball up to Lewandowski, but this time what we do is something very, very different. In the last example, we cut it back to Pateas, and this time, instead of doing that cutback, you have to have a couple of different ways to score as well in this situation. So we've already shown an example where we would have just cut that ball back first time. We've had another example where we've gone down to the byline and then look for the cutback to Lewandowski, but this time around we're going to cross the ball. So our opponent has already, had 3 scenarios now where he doesn't know what we're going to do. And that also creates a little bit of panic for the opposition when they're defending. And that just means that you don't have to do any of these super, R1 dribbling. You don't have to do Trivela shots. Most people are very, very bad at defending in this game, and they panic and they make really rash decisions. So therefore, you don't have to do anything complicated to create more chances. Most people are going to let you create the chances for you, and then you just have to have the composure, make the right decisions, and do the right thing in the right moment to be able to put those chances away. So you've seen a lot of the goals that we've scored have been very, very simple. It's just been simple pass and move. It's understanding where your players are on the pitch, and that sometimes comes from practice. Obviously, we use a lot of the same formations as well. That's really key, making sure you understand the patterns of play, because they're very different from formation to formation. But understanding the patterns of play, understanding where your players are, and also understanding your style of play. And this is another thing that I think a lot of people really overlook. They don't have a style of play. I like to play very aggressive on the front foot with high possession, high passing. I like to attack with my fullbacks, so I get my fullbacks up the pitch, and that just gives me more options as well to be able to create chances. As we saw in that example, when we crossed it in, sometimes we'll look for a cutback, sometimes we can go to the byline. That then makes it more difficult for our opponent to defend, not because we're doing anything super advanced, but we're just giving him a few more things to think about. And I would rather score 7 or 8 goals and maybe concede 3 than maybe only have the opportunity to score 2 goals but maybe not concede any. So if you follow all these things that we laid out in this video, you're bound to score more goals this year.